Oh, what's going on, guys? And welcome to Rabbit's Used Cars. Not brought to you by you. We buy these. This is actually, I've been on the diet kick here lately. I got to look good for the small screen. Have you ever had one of those weeks where literally it was just a giant shit sandwich? My good friend Jim, I've talked about him several times over the years. Jim always had the best sayings. And he'd see you having a bad day and kind of moping around, got your head down. He'd be like, he's having one of them days you just want to shit in your hand and rub it in your hair. And I always thought that was silly, but it made sense. So anyway, definitely been one of those weeks. Been an epic sales week. We have rolled cars out. We got new cars coming in. That's great. Truck shop's running good. Calls from big places coming in, everything's going great. And then you get one of those calls you hate. And actually, well, let me back up. You get on social media, and I'm that guy. I'm just scrolling, and you see something that stops you. It's literally the first thing I thought of when I saw it is I text a mutual friend of ours when I saw this post. And I'm like, what the f going on? And he goes, yeah, I know, I just heard about it myself. I mean, literally, this thing had been posted 2 minutes. And it just instantly took me back. I was at home, sitting on the couch. And I was thinking about all the situations I've had with this person. And actually, this story I wanted to tell you without this part connected to it. But now you get the whole thing. We got a beginning, a middle, and an end. You got to think, if you've been following me around the whole eBay outlaw thing, the very first car lot that signed up for my eBay selling business, brokering, was this man's car lot. I met him through my father. My dad had a square body Chevrolet truck and he bought it. And this was, I was 10 when he did this. And that's the very first time I ever met Tommy. And Tommy was that guy that you just had to like him. You knew that he was probably getting the better end of the deal, but you did it anyway. And I guess, thinking back then, I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. Now, looking back now, I realize he's a salesman. That's what salesmen do. You got to be, charismatic and, funny and always got a quick line. And Tommy, he sold, a little bit of everything, but his big thing was, medium heavy duty trucks. He actually got me into commercial truck sales, which got me into Rusty and the X-ray machine. I've gotten so many adventures, is what we'll call them, because of Tommy. Tommy knew everybody. He comes from a long line of car salesmen. And so his family owned the Plymouth dealership here in town. You got to think, he grew up in that, and then of course he started his own place, and literally his car lot's been right down the road. And if I could have $1 for every time I whipped in to the Metro Auto Sales. And Tommy always had interesting stuff, whether it was, a traffic light changing truck or a dump truck or a school bus. Hell, I just sold him a school bus 2 weeks ago. Tommy's that guy that I don't trade with him like I used to because I'm not really into the stuff that he's into now. But he'd come by the warehouse and see how it's going, hey, big time, what are you doing now? And he'd come by the truck shop and, or we'd go grab lunch or whatever, hey, I saw you on TV or I saw this. And he goes, look at you, getting all big time on me. And you get thinking about this guy, and you gotta think back in the eBay days, you had transporters and all these people coming in all hours of the night, flying in to pick up vehicles that I sold at Metro Auto Sales for Tommy. That was the first. I worked at the family car lot, but I don't count that. You know what I mean? Because that's like a family gig. Like, it was just me and him. And I picked up on what he said and how he handled customers, and shaking their hand and talking about this and this and this, focusing on the donut, not the hole. Things like that, and just walking around. And Tommy loved to buy and he hated to sell. Well, I love to sell. So we worked out pretty good. We made a pretty good team, especially me, him, and the eBay. We sold a lot of medium and heavy duty commercial stuff. But then we added more car lots, and he'd call his buddy and say, "Man, you ought to see this kid. He's a damn whiz, and he can sell cars faster than anybody you've ever seen in your life." And I loved how Tommy would talk me up to people, and he would never do it in front of me. But like I would go visit this car lot. I never knew these people. When I'd walk in, he goes, "I heard you're like the sales guru. You sell anything." And the thing is, when I was 22, I looked like I was 15. Driving my bright red Corvette, had my Sony CyberShot camera, my little spiral-bound notebook, with my $200 Mont Blanc pen stuck in it. I was that guy. Whip out my Halliburton briefcase. I had the look. Two, back in the day, this is before iPhones and things like that, but StarTech phones, the little flip phone, I had two. And then I had two razors. I had two phones on. And the thing is, you got to think about it. Looking back, and it was so tacky. Like, I shake my head when I think about it. I had the guy that had the gold nugget pinky ring on. I was a 20-year-old kid, and I dressed like a 60-year-old mob boss. 3 gold chains on. And I'm not talking about like the rope chain like your grandmother gave you for Christmas when you're 16. No, I'm talking about like a 3/8 solid rope and a Figaro and a herringbone to go with it. And I ain't talking about a quarter. I'm talking about like a half. I had Carlos all over, held the damn area. Had 3 damn counties that I was selling cars for online. I was virtually their online guy. I didn't realize that when I started that venture, that how that would totally end up changing the whole sales world now. Literally just sat in an 8-hour course for South Carolina car dealers, and 7 of the 8 was talking about internet sales. And I'm thinking to myself, I might have had a little something to do with this. Just a little small piece. I'm not saying I was the first or the only one with this idea, but by far in the Southeast, I like to think that I probably pushed it harder and further than anyone did. But all this was because Tommy. And Tommy was that guy like, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think you need to do that. And Tommy, like you got to think about it. When you're a car dealer, you have your cards for your auctions. And basically it looks like a credit card. And it's got your numbers on there, and they'd run them across old knuckle buster when you bought a car of your paperwork. That card also means you're liable for what you bought. Tommy, you got to think about it. He was kind of a family friend, but, and I sold some cars for him. Next thing you know, I had, cards to all the auctions. Metro Auto Sales, Rob Pitts. I could buy anything. And I used to go sell and buy a few cars for myself, and they'd all go under his name, and he was that guy, he always helped you out, if you bought something that was a little odd, he could find an ass for every seat. He knew a little bit about everything, except the internet. And to him, I knew everything. I was thinking, sitting on the couch, the first thing that pops in my head, and this is back in my wilder days, and this is right after my first divorce, so this is a few years in. I was probably 25, 26. And we went to a local watering hole here in town, still open to this day. It's called the Blind Horse Saloon. And that was kind of my hangout on the Friday and Saturday nights, handing out tracts and preaching the good word, just in case my grandmother's watching. Not really. And I brought this absolutely gorgeous brunette with me. Literally, on a scale of 1 to 10, she's easily a 17, period. She was absolutely gorgeous. And I'm over here just smiling like a possum eating pumpkin seeds because I got this chick standing beside me. A little red Corvette, Mr. Cool. And we were, might have been indulging in some alcoholic beverages. Tommy calls me up. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. And the Bud Lights are coming back pretty quick at this point. And I answer once I figure out which phone's ringing. Literally, I look like a baby dope dealer. It was cute. But anyway, I flipped up my phone and I said, "Tommy, what's going on?" He goes, "Where are you at?" And I said, "Church." He goes, "Bullshit." He said, "Where are you at?" And I said, "I'm bar hopping." "What are you doing?" So I'm on a date. He goes, "I need you to meet me at the car lot. I got a guy coming in." Keep in mind, I'm walking sideways at this point. I mean, I am verschnickled. So I let the hottest brunette in Greenville drive my vet and me to Metro Auto Sales. And we sat. When you walked in the door, he had double doors that walked in, had a little foyer right there, and his office was over to the left-hand side, and you had this like foyer, like I said, and you had this long couch. We sat there and shot the shit, waiting on this guy to get here. And he was actually an hour late, which made it even worse. I'm thinking to myself, I could have shut the bar down and still been on time. Tommy's over here like, how in the hell did you get her? I'm like, I'm good like that. Anyway, but like you think about things like, there's no point in that story. We sold it. Even I'll be honest with you. If I'm conscious, I can sell it. It doesn't matter. I didn't need to be walking around so much, so I was kind of like, I'm telling you, like I said, you're gonna love this thing. It's a great dump truck. I drive it all the time. Bed goes up, whoa, ground's moving. And but yeah. You love that little Cummins. You can't beat it. Thing's like a man on the clock. We got the deal closed that night, and I finally sobered up. And even through the years after that, Tommy's wife passed away. I was there for that. Me and him talked, and I made sure like we went out to dinner and things like that. Kind of kept him company. And Tommy wasn't terribly old, but one of the coolest Tommy things he ever did for me that still sticks out in my mind. So everybody knows about the Ford dealership. Well, you got to understand, I went from working at a family car lot to doing my own thing, brokering on eBay. So I went to a Ford dealership with a resume that has my name on it. You got to think, do you really want to put on a resume for a sales job, hey, I'm that guy that got permanently banned from eBay? So we didn't mention that. And so I was talking to Tommy about it, need some insurance. I need a big boy job now. And he goes, hell, I know all these dealerships. He said, who's the sales manager you're going to meet? And I said, who? He said, hell, I'll type you up a little letter. And when I say type, I'm not talking about, he got on the computer and did it. Old school. He typed up a letter of recommendation for me. And, it's 3/4 of a page. He folded it up, put it in an envelope. And he said, you just hand this to the sales manager. That's all you got to do. He said, don't open it. It was sealed. He said, you just hand this to the sales manager. And he wrote the guy's name on the envelope with a Metro Auto Sales. As a matter of fact, it was a Metro Auto Sales printed envelope. And I said, I was told to give you this by Tommy himself. He goes, oh, Scatterfield. Of course, he knew him. He opens it up and he reads it. And I'm just standing there, tie on, talking about all this stuff I can do. He goes, well, Rod, we only have 2 jobs open. We have an internet sales manager job. Yeah, probably don't want me to do that. And he said, then we'll put you out on the floor if you don't want to do that. I said, I think I'd rather take the sales floor. And he goes, I don't know anything about you. Seemed like a bright kid. But this letter says, you know your shit. I've known Tommy the better half of my life. And if he says you're a hell of a salesman, you got to be pretty damn good. Then, of course, as the story goes, very first day, sold more cars in one day than their best salesman sold in 1 month. I worked on the Ford store for another, 7 or 8 months, and everybody asked why I left the Ford store. In a brief nutshell, why I left the Ford store. You got to keep in mind, this is 2006 rolling into 2007. I'm sitting in the dealership, and we got an email from Ford Motor Credit. I was noticing that I was losing a lot more sales in FI, Finance and Insurance Office, after I got the deal closed. And basically, people were upside down in their cars. So we got an email from Ford Motor Credit, and this email said they were going to start financing 120% on a new car because people had so much negative equity to help counter sales. And I'm no economics expert, but I know you can only do this for a short amount of time before you got people buried in these cars, and now you're burying them even deeper and forcing gap insurance down their throats just to make the deal happen. And I'm like, you know what? I might need to do something else. And that's when I went back to the truck shop, and I'm glad I did. It was great taking that over, after a little while, and trying my hand at that line, and I loved it, and I still do to this day. That also gave into, the big recession in 2008 when everything hit the floor. You could see it then when you had people going in and trading in cars, and they owed $30,000-$40,000 on a car that was worth 12 grand, 13 grand. And they were rolling that negative equity. I don't give a damn how good of a deal you got. We can sell it to you at half price and you're still upside down. You can only do that so many times before the whole damn house of cards comes in. So I got out with the getting was good. Back to Tommy. So he wrote this tearjerker letter, and I never got to see it until later on. And I actually read it. I actually saw it on my sales manager's desk. He actually had it jammed under his desk counter. And I said, I've never got to read that. He said, you never read it. And, because all I seen was the backside through the light. So I could see about how long it was. That was about it. And he opened it up, and it's on Metro letterhead. And this thing, like I said, was typed. And he was talking about, this kid reminds me of myself so much. Eager, willing to learn. And the thing is, you better pay attention because he'll teach you some things. He's very quick. And these are all sales terms, by the way. When somebody says somebody's very quick, it's not like he runs around fast. No, he's quick. Like you show him once, it's over with. He's good with numbers. He's good with customers. You're going to love this guy. This is going to be your new favorite. Basically, the last line, and I don't know if it's in exact words, but he said, this will be your new best salesman, period. And ever since that, you got to think that was a really low point in my life. And Tommy knew I needed something to put me back. I mean, you got to think about it. This is when I found out about, my son not being mine, and, I got banned from eBay. I mean, literally, like I didn't get incarcerated. This was a point where, if something didn't pick up, and I was doing pretty good, but he saw I was in trouble. I wasn't drowning yet, but I was in trouble. And you got to think about it. When I took that job at the Ford place, I had like $20 to my name and was driving a brand new Corvette. That's bad. I had literally an empty Halliburton briefcase with a pack of crackers in it. And that was my lunch, period. That's all I had. I mean, this thing was full of nothing but good intentions and a pack of crackers, period. And, I had to hit the ground running, and it worked. And I thank Tommy for that. And me and him, we've talked about that 100 times. He said, man, you do the same thing for me. And car sales is a very cutthroat business. You have a lot of acquaintances in car sales, but true friends, they're a little harder to come by. You got a lot of buddies when you see them at a show or you see them at an auction or something. But those guys that are there for you, far and few in this business. So you learn to really appreciate them. And me and Tommy, we didn't see each other as much now here in the last few years, but he'd come by. Like I said, literally his car lot's still open, or it was open. It's just right down the street. Hell, he'd swing by. Damn, what you guys doing over here? Good Lord, why are you spending all this money? It's a car dealer thing. They're all cheap asses. Take you back, sitting on the couch now. Like I said, I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw that post that made me stop in my tracks. And a mutual friend of ours said, Tommy, I'll never forget you. Rest in peace. And keep in mind, I just had lunch with him 8 days earlier. And I'm like, what the hell went on? He was shot and killed in his front yard. Everything hasn't come out yet with the details of it, and I'm not going to spread hoopla. All I know is my friend's gone, and I'm going to miss him. On top of it, these things tend to happen back to back to back. I was sitting in a dealer's class just yesterday, and on the way home, I had a notification pop up on my phone for a message. It was old Kobe Kai. He said, did you hear about Wayne? Wayne's detailer. You've seen him on this channel a few times. We even had his Cobra Mustang, the 94 Indy Pace Cobra Mustang, the red one. Super slick. Wayne is my right-hand man on detailing. You got to think about it. There's a lot of spokes in the wheel to make the RUC work, and he was one of them. He died yesterday, too. So this was going out to you, Tommy and Wayne. Hey, rest in peace, and Just think about it. Just as long as I'm talking, the stories never die. Wayne, just wait till I break yours out. I can tell them now. Guys, we'll catch you next time at Rabbit's Used Cars. You know, you got to shake it. That's what makes it. If not, you just have like doo-doo water. You don't want that. It's been one of those weeks that my good friend, I've talked to him several. Having a little malfunction here.
Ooh. That thumb get cut.
I'm a bad. I mean, is he just beating a pipe on the ground?
What's he beating over there in Muscle Shop?
They got benders for that shit.
Right.
And they gave that kid a shot. I knocked it out of the park. But, and then a Doberman runs across the ceiling.